Hello, welcome back to the workshop. Right, last video we put that together, covered how to get it to, how it won't go, if you run that backwards that's not going to work, and how to rewire it so that if you want to run it the other way, you can. What we're going to do now is put together Stirling Kit, Retrol beam engine. Again, like I said in the unboxing video, this is a paid promotion in the sense that they sent me this for free so I could review it. There is a discount code, Ben15. I'll put links in the description. You can go to their website and buy these things or buy other things. Put in a discount, Ben15, you get a 15% discount. And at the moment they're a bit discounted anyway. So let's run through this. What we're going to do is run through. We have, hopefully you've unboxed it and you've gone through and checked you've got everything. It's got an inventory list, and there's one with pictures that includes everything except the base plate. It doesn't have a picture of the base plate, but you'll see that the base plate is that big thing there, quite hard to miss. Right, okay, and also there is one error on the drawing, on the instruction, put together instructions. And what we are going to be doing is we are going to be running through from stage 1 to stage 16. Over here, stage 1, this bolt here is marked as 26. Yep, it isn't 26. If we go back and refer to here, you will see that 26 there is a nut. It is in fact 25. It's the only singular M4 screw. And also on the back of here there is a little bit of extra instruction about fitting the beam, which is in step 3. We'll come to that. Okay, quite straightforward. First things first is let's start by getting the not the base plate out, but the what amounts to the base plate for the actual unit, which should be here. Here it is. Okay, now it follows that this is a handed piece, so that's the top of the handed piece, that's the bottom of the handed piece. Okay, so in this drawing these bits are this side, so we start by fitting that. Right, so let's go and do that very quickly. We want out cylinder block, and we want out, that is the pedestal, that is the pillar, and we need 4 off of the number 22s. Number 22s are not on this sheet, or are they? No, they're on the other sheet. Give me a sec. 22 is M3 by 6. Right, they're quite obvious. There's a lot of those. Right. Need those in a minute. That's the M3 by 6, and somewhere around here is the M4. You've only got one of these, so that one ought to stick out like a sore thumb. That one will end up going in there. Put that down there. We want 4 of these. And we also need the Allen keys out. Let's remember where they are. They were one of these bags. Come on. One, two, three, four. We'll need these later. Should be 8 left. Get out the toolkit. Oh, there's an O-ring. Not sure where the O-ring goes. So we have not sure if I need the tweezers. Got 3 sizes of Allen key. That one's for grub screws. That one's for the big one. That one's for the M3. So let's start by putting this on. Now this goes on like that with a drain down that side. That is the input, that's the drain, or where the exhaust comes out. Right, so let's just line that up. It's going to be a little bit fiddly. Now these ones are quite small Allen keys. I don't have, well I will have a driver I can use for those. But you don't need more tools than come with the set. Right, let's just go. And you don't want to do these up too ridiculously tight. So that's that. So there we go. Pillar goes in that hole there. It's quite obvious it's the biggest hole. So we're going to put that on there. That on there. Whoops. No, we're not. We are going to go and put that over there like that. Now the only problem is this is a bit fiddly to hold. Then we're going to drop that through the hole. Once you've got that through the hole, hold on. You can see how it's fiddly to hold. Right, put that over there. And I'm just going to start screwing that on like that. Now I did mention not tightening this one up until you've got the beam on, but for one reason or another I'm going to tighten that up reasonably. And you can't, it's very difficult to over tighten because you have to grip it with that. So that's stage 1 done. Stage 2, let me just show you. Stage 2 is going to be bolting this plate to that plate. Yep. Okay, for that we are going to need the 9 bits of brass, and we are going to need this bag. This bag, whoa, hold on, and we're going to need a base plate, which I'll get out. This bag was the one that also contained the M4. Let me find the 9 bits of brass. There we go. And we need the base plate. there's the base plate. And this will then sit over this like this, but stood off. It's something to note, by the way. You'll note that that hole goes through there, and that's going to become important because that's where the exhaust drop goes through, and you'll get drips in there, and there is a tray for collecting the drips, which is there. That out the way. So, right, these come with nuts already on them, which is a little bit of a pain. This is also where, but I'm not going to use, a nut driver will come in useful. If you're wondering what size these are, these nuts are 5.5 millimeters. Let's get those off. And you use all of these ones with the nuts on them. 9 of them all together. Right, so to stand that like that. Hold on, no, not. Let's go grab that first. Evict those from there. Right, so what I want to do through there, through there. That's in this top one there. You can then get its left access holes, so you can get access to those, which is nice. Put that down there, and we are going to start that off. Just show you. Get them nowhere near tight. Next one. Well, there we go. Next one. Over that. And now you want to leave these really loose so you can get the others in. What we're working on now is those two. Do them one at a time. You do want to make sure that you've got somewhere that will catch these. It's slightly awkward. It's very awkward getting to that one. Oh, I should have done that one before that one. Tell you what. Tweezers. No drama. Right. That was really going to be reasonably straightforward. And you can see how loose that is. That's deliberate at this stage. These brass standoffs are quite loose, so they're not a problem. I would have preferred it if they did something a bit more akin to the way these work for that, because that would be less fiddly. So now we're going to do that one. They keep these well loose until you've got them all located. Okay, last two. Right, last one. And this is obviously quite a bit floppy. You can see how much. Right, so now all we need to do is tighten those down. That's your one. Down finger tight fast. Ah, just realised I made a mistake. These two need to come out now. Right, but they are located, so that's okay. Because I forgot to put those on. What a stupid part. Now we've got the rest of them reasonably tightened down. Hopefully those things, the brass bits, will stay still. And they do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and stick that. No, that's just under the drop. What a pain. my own fault. Realised I'd forgotten that, so don't forget that. Now what you will have to do, or what you may have to do, is twiddle these about a little bit later on to get the bearings lined up. Right, so now we've got that all down in the right place. See now, we can go through. You know what, that's not a good fit, that spanner. There we go. Oh, it is a good fit. Right. Let's tighten this all down. See which one that is, by the way. That's that one. We're not going to tighten these up excessively because they may need to move. We'll tighten those up later when we've got the bearings in. So that's those in. So that's stage 2. Where have I got my sheet? Pick that up. It's over there. So that's stage 2. Stage 3 is fitting the beam. Beam is here. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this. So that's a piston, beam goes on there, and what we are going to do is actually we're going to fit a, oh that's interesting, that piston is hollow. That's interesting. Give me a sec. There is a grub screw goes in there. Let me have a look. Where is that grub screw? That grub screw is number 21, which is the M3 by 5mm. There is one very small grub screw, which I'll come to in a minute. So the grub screws are in the same bag as the crankshaft is. I'm going to go tip those out into that box because they are fiddly tiny. Take that out. Tip all those bits into that box. We do not want to lose those. Right. Okay. So there's an M. Let me just show you. This is going to be useful. So you have two screws, two sides of grub screws. That's the, and you can see that one is definitely quite a bit shorter and tinier than the other. That one goes in a very specific place. So until I say use that one, don't. This one goes in here. Get that out. We want the black Allen driver, Allen key. Hold on. To do what we're going to do is we're going to go and put that on there first. Start it off before you put this down. And I'm keeping an eye out to make sure it doesn't get into the hole, which it hasn't. Right, so we can now fit that. There's a bit of oil on there. Right, so we hold that down. Okay, we can do that up now. We just want to make sure that's loose enough. So obviously if you swing it back hard, you want to put that at the midpoint. Now the 3mm M3 grub screw goes in here. We'll come back to that. Right, next. That's 3, and also when you've done 3, refer to that. It says just basically make sure this goes up and down nicely, which it now doesn't because something it's binding somewhere. Oh no, it's alright. A little bit stiff. Right. Now we're on to number 4. Number 4 is basically in the same thing that the crankshaft and the grub screws came in. You've got these two little ball racers. They go in here. Will be a little bit of a, hold on. Do you know what? That's going to require a little bit of force. Still not in. Would have been better to put those in with the bearing blocks off, actually. I might just try the other one. I might do that. Did we go in nicely? No. Right, okay, let's get those blocks off. Don't like that. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That stays still now the rest of the time. There we go. Push down with a crunch. That's better. Didn't need hammering. I just needed to put a full lot of force on it, which you can't do when it's there. So it's a bit dopey. Right, okay. So bearing blocks. Change of instructions. Bearing blocks go on before there. Okay, so that fitting in the bearings into the bearing blocks, yep, that's section 1A. Now I'm going to go and screw that on there. Actually, not 1B rather. Because there's no way you're going to get that efficiently done then. That's just in the wrong part of the instructions. Right. The only thing is you do need to make sure the bearings flanges are outboard. Let's go get the other off. Right, okay. So there we go, put the bearing flange on there. And actually that one slid straight in. So that one was obviously a bit stiff, but that one went straight in. But it's easier to do it when it's flat on the deck. These nuts do locate reasonably easily well as well. Right, okay. Again, we're not doing these up tight until we've got the bearings, the shaft through. Right, next stage. So we've done 4. 5 is going to be pushing that in, and then 6 is going to involve installing the shaft. So we'll do 5 and 6 together. Let me show you that. So 5 is, let me just show you the bit. Right, so there is your piston rod, crank thing and eccentric. Okay, so that has got to go on this side. I'll just show you. That goes this side. A little bit of oil. Okay, put that down there. and then we are going to have to hold the flywheel up. Right, so flywheel. Now if you've counted up your screws, hold on, give me a sec. If you counted up all your screws, your grub screws very, very carefully, you will have noticed that you do not in fact have 4 of the 5mm M3 grub screws. In actual fact you do, but your 4th one is there. Let me just show you that down there. So there's your 4th grub screw. So that, let me see, well that grub screw side to be outboard there, and then what we're going to do is feed the crankshaft. Show you. So we feed the crankshaft. Now the crankshaft, not well, yeah, I guess it is a crankshaft. It's not actually got a crankshaft. Has a series of flats milled on it. Okay. From the drawing, the shortest flat, which is there, is the one the eccentric goes on, or not the eccentric of the crankshaft. So we are going to feed this through here, through here, and where is the, through here. Okay. And this is where I remember I've forgotten something because, or have I? No, I haven't. Right, so we now got one M3 grub screw in there. We need the M3 by 5 grub screw. We have the another one. Let me show you where that goes. We need another one in there. So go grab the grub screw, Alan. No, that's upside down. Feed that down into that hole. Start doing it up. Okay, so what we now need to do, keep this flat up. So you keep all these vertical. Hold on, that's gone through too far. Why is that not sliding backwards and forwards? This is, oh, mind you can't get that wrong, can you? Also, I will show you something in a sec. So that flat is for the grub screw to locate on. Let's trick that up. Right. Okay, you do want that flat. Right, okay, so we get this up to the flat. This one's going to be a little bit more fiddly to do. What is it? No? Right, that's that done. So next we now need to fill the next thing, it's a pulley. Let's check, have I got a grub screw in it? Right, that's not got its grub screw in it yet, so we'll get the grub screw out. We're going to start the grub screw off. It's a little bit stiff going down that hole. Right, I screwed that down a couple of turns, it got really stiff, I backed it out and then started again, so bear that in mind. It's probably where it's been machined and threaded, just made it a little bit awkward. Right, okay, let's get that down there. What we're doing is we're just going to wind this down till we see it. No, we're not. We're going to go and stick that on here. So get that up to the top. And you'll have in your kit this little ring here. That's a spacer ring, goes on there like that. And this goes with the little small pulley outside. Slide that onto there. Right, finally covered, and right, okay, so we're now on stage 8. Okay, this is where the short grub screw comes in. This is now the only one you've got left. You also have this shaft here, which is a tiny little shaft. Let me show you. This little shaft here, it does have a flat on it, not sure how useful that is. Let me go get that little grub screw out first and install that. Now that's awkward. Do not want to lose that grub screw. Right, so there's a connecting rod. That through with its flat facing up. Next one, yes it is. And now we have this machined brass bolt. That is a left-handed thread. It's important that you know that. And at this point, when we started this off, I can see and I want that to be slightly that way. So what we're going to do, get in there. Notice I'm turning this the wrong way. And it's kind of cranked up a little bit. Right. Hold on, let's get those done down a bit. Okay, that's good. Looking good so far. Now we can tighten these down. A bit, that's going to be a little bit more awkward. Now that's got a nice kink in it. I'm not quite sure why, but it does make that bit. It's going to make that one there a bit awkward. This one here. Yeah, it's going to be a winner. Definitely. Right. Next stage. Fitting the governor. Now, okay, so fitting the governor is quite straightforward. We require a... Oh, hold on. 23. We've got one of those. Right. That's a long one of those, and one of those comes straight up through there to bolt this down. Right, pay attention to that. Ah, there it is. Right, so this one here actually holds that. Let me show you here. Right. So the long one of these two, that we've got to take this one off. That's going to make this very fiddly because these bits will be inclined to drop out. So bear that in mind. And then we fit this on like this. And we need a bit of, this is going to be super fiddly. We need a little bit of silicone tube. Now we've got two bits of silicone tube, a long bit and a short bit. The short bit is the bit you want. Crikey, this video is taking a long time. Sorry about that. Right, so we're going to put the short bit on there. Right, now this is going to be super fiddly. Hold on, let me find the other bolt. Where did I put that? That's going to be one of those. Is that one of those? Is a 22, which is the one I've got bags of. Yes, that is one of those. So before we go hunting for the longer of the two screws, this is the one you've got loads of these, nice big bag of those, and this one is the one that comes with it. So what we need to do is very carefully extract that. Hopefully that little bit of brass stays in its place. It has so far. It might even be located nicely, which would be good. Slide that into there. Right, let's see now. Okay, so you can see those holes quite clearly there. It's not actually that difficult. Wound up all the way. Managed to oh, that's interesting. Right. That's interesting. Something I didn't know. You can govern the spring tension. Let's see. If you look at that there, that's now lifted up. So you can govern the spring tension on the governor by scooting that up and down. That's interesting. So that goes, you can see how that governor works. And now we put that according to this diagram. Goes on the smaller of the two, I think. We have a look at the overall picture, which is not going to be clear. Give me 2 secs. Nope, that picture doesn't show me anything of what I'm after now. That's got to be the smaller one. That's cool. That's very good. Right. Okay. So now we go to the erection of for the boiler. This is where the rest of this bag of screws comes in. So that's fit those and tip that in. Big holes at the bottom, small holes at the top. Now, that there are two of those on either side. Hold on. Oh no, these are exactly the same, so it doesn't matter really. Right, so you put one of those in there, and we've got to push the screw up through the bottom into there, so that's going to be super awkward. Got to do, get that there, that. That is not the right one. That is the right one. Okay. So pushing that through there like that, we can then push that through there like that. We can push that onto there like that. And wind it in. Okay, then we do the next one. That through the hole. We're just going to nip these up for the moment, not particularly tight. Okay, now you can see when the boiler straps go on, you can see that you need to line those up for the boiler straps, which are these things. So this will strap on there to hold the boiler down. Next one is we've now then got to feed in these two sides and then this. So this is now going to be super awkward. So right. So that's the closed end. Fire goes in from this side. That's upside down. Obviously that's for the boiler to catch onto. Push that into there. That's a little bit stiff getting that one in. Let me feed this on. Okay. Slack these off slightly. completely missing with that. Hold on. This last bit here is a little bit fiddly, not going to lie. You just plop that down onto there like that, start giving it a twiddle, but you can see that you get inclined to, you just want to get those started, both of those, and then we'll have to go and push this back together. Right. We are almost done. The build I'll do firing up in a separate video. We might have to slack these off to tighten the boiler down. We'll come to that in a minute. Right, so now we've done that, it's a case of putting the boiler in. So, boiler has a little hole, that hole there, we have to slide this around here. This bit is a little bit fiddly, so it goes in like this. Hold on, there we go. You can, okay, let me show you. So you take that there like that, and then you'll find that you can then tip that down and drop it in like that, okay? Fire in this end with the glass, and then we connect this to this with a silicone tube in a minute. We've got to get these four in first. Now these four, start with this one. Fortunately we do have access from the bottom if we need to manipulate those little brass standoffs. In. Okay, got that engaged, started, not finished. Crucially important doing this build to be careful not to over tighten, because I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see that that's currently way off that hole there, so it's going to be a little bit fiddly. I'm going to have to go and hold on, let me just see now. So you will need to just tweak the size of this out. And now we've got both of them in. We've got both of those in. Don't tighten these down again because you need to all the way, just scoot them up a little bit more. And let's do the other two. Topper, that's through the sheet metal. Just drag this out slightly. There we go, got that in. No. Start it off. Now, that's going, yeah, okay, so there we go. Almost built. Last thing we need to do for that is this longer bit of silicone tube needs manipulating between here. Don't like the silicone tube much, but it's certainly adequate, very adequate for the job. Just doesn't look very nice. Goes onto there. You just waggle that round a little bit so that it looks a little bit less. And that, right, let me just get this out. Not going to fire it up right now because the video's been far too long. That, we have these two things. So let me just see. You look there, you can see that we put that in there like that, and in there like that, and then just press this over the top. That seems a little bit stiff. Well, I need to, hold on, let me have a look. It doesn't seem, I think that would work better. Okay, that one's, some of these are a little bit bent in. That would be why. Just go and that one. Check those. Too far bent in. Still. All the way down to the bottom. So you might have to adjust those little tabs. Okay, so that's the way, and then that goes in there like that, sits in the bottom, goes in all the way like that. Pull it out, you can then lift it up and pull it out like that. All straightforward, and then when you want to refuel, Pull that out like that. That goes in there. Wiggle it round and in it goes. Right, so next time we'll fire it up, but I think it's going to be a good one. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Don't forget that you can, what's the right expression? Yes, discount code in the description, links in the description where you can buy these things. It's all good. Thank you for watching. Next video will hopefully be a bit shorter. Oh yeah, please like, please comment, please subscribe.